welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an idea that pretty much flips the script on what it means to be a successful entrepreneur. In fact, it argues that the one thing most founders wear as a badge of honor might actually be their biggest failure. Yeah, this quote, it really cuts deep, doesn't it? Especially in a world that just screams hustle culture. The whole idea here is that being perpetually busy, being the hero who pulls all-nighters, well, that's not a sign you're winning. It's actually a sign your system is fundamentally broken. So, how do we fix that broken system? Well, here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to unpack why the hustle is a trap. Then, we'll figure out if you own an asset or just a job. After that, I'll introduce you to a powerful mental model called the Scale Zero Razor, lay out a plan to actually escape your business, and finally, look at what it takes to build a truly autonomous company. All right, first up, the hustle is a trap. Let's dig into why the very thing so many founders are proud of is actually the biggest bottleneck in their business. Look, let's be super clear here. This isn't about being lazy or avoiding hard work. The real problem is when all that blood, sweat, and tears goes into building something that is 100% dependent on you. Because at that point, you haven't really built a business. You've built yourself a prison, and you're both the warden and the only inmate. And that idea of being trapped leads us right into our next section. It forces you to ask a really tough question. Are you building a genuine asset, or have you just created a really high-stress job for yourself? It's time to be honest about what all those long hours are actually producing. This right here, this question gets to the absolute heart of the matter. See, an asset is something that generates value whether you show up or not. A job, on the other hand, well, it needs you there every single day. So think about it. If you couldn't take a 2-week vacation without your phone blowing up and everything grinding to a halt, what do you really own? And this chart just lays it out perfectly, right? Path A, the high-stress job, means you are required, you're stuck in the weeds of daily operations, and your growth is literally limited by the number of hours you can work. Path B, the asset, means you can be absent. You're focused on the big picture, the strategy, and because of that, your scale is basically infinite. Now, if you're thinking this all sounds like some nice, fluffy theory, check out this number. $250 million. That's the annual revenue from companies where the founder spends, and I mean this literally, 0 minutes on the day-to-day grind. It's not a fantasy, it's what's possible. So here's the crazy paradox of it all. To make your business infinitely bigger, your direct, hands-on involvement has to get infinitely smaller. It has to go to 0. You have to remove yourself as the bottleneck, plain and simple. As long as you are essential to the daily operations, your business can never, ever outgrow you. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do you remove yourself? Well, that brings us to the core tool that makes all of this possible. Let's talk about the Scale Zero Razor. So how do you really build a business that just runs, one that thrives without you? It all starts by applying one simple, but honestly brutally effective mental model to every single thing you do. And this is it, the Scale Zero Razor. Just think of it like a simple filter. For every task that crosses your desk, you ask, does this absolutely require me? If the answer is yes, the razor forces you into one of 3 actions. You either automate it, delegate it, or you just delete it entirely. This is your new mantra. Seriously, write it on a sticky note, make it your desktop background. If it requires me, it doesn't work. This isn't just a clever line. It is the fundamental operating principle that separates a business that can truly scale from one that's doomed to plateau. It's the difference between $1 million job and a $100 million asset. So that brings us to section 4, actually escaping your business. A philosophy is one thing, but you need an action plan, right? How do you use this razor to start systematically making yourself redundant? And it's surprisingly simple. It really comes down to 3 steps. First, you get brutally honest and document everything, and I mean everything you do, big or small. Second, you start grouping those tasks into a coherent role, something like a director of marketing or a head of ops. And then the final step, you go out and hire one amazing person to completely replace you in that function. And this part is so important. This isn't just about delegating tasks from a to-do list. That's small thinking. This is about systematically replacing an entire role that you currently fill. You're handing over not just the work, but the ownership, the authority, and the responsibility for an entire chunk of the business. And when you do that, well, that leads us to the final section, building an autonomous asset. This is the end game. This is what it looks like when you've truly shifted from being an operator in the machine to the architect of the machine. And to get there, it requires a complete mindset shift. You stop obsessing over individual tasks and start designing elegant systems. You hire people to own entire outcomes, not just check off a list of duties. You start measuring what actually gets produced, not how many hours someone sat in a chair. Your goal, your entire job description, becomes making yourself unnecessary. Because this is the real prize. This whole thing isn't about working less just to be lazy. It's about earning true entrepreneurial freedom. The freedom to step back, to think clearly, to be creative, and maybe most importantly, the freedom to go build the next great thing. So I'll leave you with this challenge. Don't try to boil the ocean and fix everything at once. Just look at your calendar for this week. What is the one reoccurring task, meeting, or report that absolutely requires you? Find it, and then apply the razor. Automate, delegate, or delete it. That's your first step toward freedom.